reasons why I love you and none of them rhyme. 9 times 9, 81, Bonnie and Clyde. We got high and sat by the Wellington sign. I had one hell of a time, it's rock and roll till I...
Welcome to the Green Tea, Freedom and Truth channel. This is Tristan. It's good to have the Green Tea team back for this Wednesday, the 16th of December 2020 edition of the video log. A big thank you and much appreciation for everyone who has liked, shared, commented and subscribed. I appreciate the Green Tea team. Today's topic we're going to be talking about in these awakening times is, I've mentioned it before, it is the awakening, the great awakening that is happening, the realization that things are happening, and also it's the awakening and realization that the individual is king. We as free sovereign beings, as free individuals, we are king or queen if you are a woman, keeping it PC. And in this time we are seeing this push for a forced collectivism. The greater good is more important than individual and personal freedoms and rights. And when we say awakening and realization, that implies that in some way we were sleeping, we were unaware. When we awaken and realize we are awake, we can see things that we could not see before. We are awake to them. Things like the UN Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the UN Evil Empire push for global communism and one world government, and the attacks on our national sovereignty we are seeing throughout the Western world. Also attacks on our families, the young ones, the unborn babies. Now with the assisted suicide bill in New Zealand, the attack on our sick and elderly people, we are awakened to these things happening. And then once we are awakened, we can change course, stop and adjust. And we can see too the top-down controlling authoritarian governmental approaches that have been pushed in the Western democracies. The push away from individual rights, sovereignties and freedoms, this authoritarian governmental control over the people. And they can get away with this sort of thing because the people, too many people are asleep and co-sign and let it pass. And let's have a little look at some of the key reasons why the individual rights and freedoms override that of forced collectivism.
The individual is king, and all other things exist for the service of the king. The conviction that the individual is king informed the ideas of the Enlightenment thinkers of the 17th and 18th centuries, and led to a rapid awakening to the vital connection between freedom and the individual rights of life, liberty, and property. As individual rights leave us free to pursue our own good in our own way so long as we do not aggress upon the person or property of others, it follows that each of us has the right to freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of association and assembly, the right to property and bodily autonomy, and the right to work and retain the fruits of our labor.
And we are all free sovereign beings. We are endowed in divine law with free will, choice and volition. This was given to us by the Creator. This is a divine law. So any time forced collectivism, forcing us and mandating things against our will, that goes against divine law. As a free individual sovereign being, I can make a video expressing my opinions, my knowledge, and that cannot be controlled. This is free expression. People can freely choose to watch what they want to watch, engage, read, associate with. These are divine laws, divine spiritual laws. Internet censorship, mandating masks, mandating tests, top-down authoritarian control. These go against universal and natural law.
Individual rights are universal in that they apply to all human beings everywhere. Rights exist regardless of whether they are implemented in the legal constitution of a given country.
And this is why I often say unlawful laws. A lot of this is coming in, locking people in their homes, stopping them from working on their own business, their independent livelihood. They're providing for themselves and their family, stopping people mixing. We're in New Zealand, we're not on any lockdown. We're on a level 1 restriction now, but there's other places all around the world that people are having their human rights taken away, restricted upon. You know, this authoritarian forced collectivism. And let's have a look back at history and see a key thing in dictatorships and tyrannical governments through history.
Does the individual exist for the sake of society, or does society exist for the sake of individuals? Those who adhere to collectivism believe that the individual exists for the sake of society, and therefore that the individual has to subordinate himself to and conduct himself for the benefit of society, and to sacrifice his selfish private interests to the common good. This collectivist mindset is foundational to communism, fascism, and socialism. The common good before the individual good, proclaimed one of collectivism's most infamous adherents. The doctrine of collectivism has been put into practice by many dictators such as Hitler, Lenin, Stalin, Pol Pot, and Mao. How does placing the good of society above the good of the individual tend towards such unfortunate outcomes?
And we see this collectivism approach with the V-word 19 propaganda, the climate change scam propaganda we see. Stay home, save lives. You know, the collective is more important than your individual liberties, rights and freedoms. This is how they are pushing it. And then they are coming in over the top with their authoritarian dictatorship style rules. And it is a flawed philosophy. Forced collectivism, people can work together collectively in a natural, organic way, in clubs, groups, organizations, but they're not forced or coerced. It is a natural expression of people wanting to work collectively. It's this forced collectivism which leads to these negative things. And society is an abstract thing. An individual is a concrete, living, breathing entity. Society is made up of individuals.
A philosophical error called the fallacy of misplaced concreteness corrupts the practical application of this ideology. The fallacy of misplaced concreteness occurs when one treats what is merely an abstraction as an entity that exists in the real world. Collectivism, in claiming the individual must sacrifice his or her private interests for the sake of society, takes what is merely a concept, society, and treats such a concept as if it had a concrete existence. Society is nothing more than a term, a concept for the symbiosis of a group of human beings. A concept is not a carrier of life.
The fallacy of misplaced concreteness, putting society, an abstract thing, over our individual rights and freedoms. The individual is king. Individual rights and freedoms are king. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Have courage, speak your truth, support each other, have faith and have fun. Peace out.